T-minus 1 minute. T-minus 30 seconds. We are go for launch. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to the NASA Social for the Crew Dragon mission as we prepare to launch America.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Yves Lamothe back here with you once again on this Memorial Day. As if things couldn't get better, we're L-2 before this launch on Wednesday, where we have historic launch of American astronauts on American soil on an American rocket. I have this beautiful, beautiful shuttle sitting right here behind me. And if it couldn't get any better, with me today is the one and only Leland Melvin. Oh my, I get to sit here with what I would call a rock star of the space industry. And online with me as well is Charlie Bolden, our former NASA administrator, and Josh Dobbs, who is the Jacksonville Jaguars quarterback. So if I want to get right into it, because I know you guys are probably excited and have lots of questions that you want to ask them. So I'm going to give them an opportunity to introduce themselves real quick, and then we're going to get on with the questions. Let me start off with Leland. Leland, how are we doing today?
Yves, I'm doing great, and I'm so happy to be here. We're going to be co-hosting the whole launch, the NASA launch before the 4:30 launch of this incredible Crew Dragon on Wednesday, the 27th, and I had a chance to work in NASA for 24 years, and now I'm getting a chance to help inspire that next generation of explorers, having flown in space 2 times on this bird back here, Atlantis, in 2008 and 2009, and I was inspired by Charlie Bolden, who told me in NASA headquarters, he said, you can't get into the Corps unless you apply. You need to apply. So I can't wait to talk to my good friend, Charlie Bolden, and hear from another NFL buddy, QB, Josh Dobbs.
Phenomenal. Thank you so much, Leland. And how about let's turn it over to Mr. Charlie Bolden. How are you doing today, Charlie?
Yeah, I'm doing well, and I just want to say welcome to all the folk who called in for the social. This is one of my favorite things about launches, having people from all over the world who usually assemble down at KSC and get an opportunity to see all the things we do and then get to see a real launch, and really sorry that that's not happening but it's great to be here with my hero, Leland Melvin, and my soon-to-be hero, Josh Dobbs, talking to applying for the program and get him to space. So excited to have all your questions coming.
Fantastic. And before we carry on, I do want to take the moment because Charlie is a fellow Marine, so Ura Semper Fi, and we will definitely want to commemorate this Memorial Day
definitely
by honoring someone like Charlie, who has served in the military and served, the people as NASA administrator. Thank you so much for your service, Charlie.
Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you.
All right, and now moving on to Mr. Josh Dobbs. How you doing today, Josh?
I'm doing well. Thank you guys for having me. First, I wanted to say happy Memorial Day, as we just said. I'm excited to get down and see the launch. I got a chance to spend a little time at KSC back in February doing an externship through the NFLPA and got to put my aerospace engineering degree to use. So
nice.
I'll be excited to get down to see my first launch. I remember going to Kennedy Space Center for the first time I was 7 during the heat of the shuttle age. So for the new space age that's going on, and this is the first flight from Mary's soil in a long time. It's going to be an exciting day. Thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely. The honor really is ours, and I'm pretty sure all the folks are going to appreciate just hearing from all you guys. Now, the first question that I have is going to be for Leland. Leland, what do you think is the moment that you are going to be most excited about on Wednesday?
Oh my goodness, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and to have those, those engines just rocking and rolling, and thinking about us as Americans launching a SpaceX commercial rocket with this partnership, commercial crew partnership with NASA to get to the International Space Station. And I think, this is the 5th vehicle that's been built and flown from American soil. Mercury, Gemini, Apollo, shuttle, and now SpaceX Dragon. And I think once we get there, we're going to be just celebrating this most momentous occasion.
Fantastic. Now, Charlie, as a former NASA administrator, what does it mean to you to see NASA partnering with commercial companies for such an effort? And not only is it a beautiful effort to be able to launch from American soil, but this is sort of like the first step to taking us back to the moon.
Well, I think it's really important. First of all, it's because we want to continue to be able to allow people who would not ordinarily have an opportunity to get to space to do that. And I'm excited about all the commercial entities, whether we're talking about the suborbital folk like Virgin Galactic and Blue Origin, or whether we're talking about orbital folk like Boeing and SpaceX. It's really important to have capability to get people who might not otherwise get an opportunity to go to space. When we launch on Wednesday, that opening that door again.
Fantastic. Now, both Charlie and Leland, you guys have been around the space industry for some years. Now, either one of you can answer this question. What do you expect to see changing in human spaceflight in the coming years? And this is obviously maybe a little bit different from NASA's processes. This is SpaceX who has the lead, if you will, on getting those astronauts on the rocket to launch on Wednesday. How do you see that changing? What's the difference between what you did and what they're doing today?
Well, I think the biggest thing that's going to be changing is we're getting people from visiting locations like Moon and Mars, but going to be living on, a habitat on these planets. And I think having the commercial crew, having these other entities being part of this bigger space picture, all these resources coming together to allow something like that to happen. And I think that's the bigger thing. Long-term living on destinations that are far away is something that, we've always visited and come home, and now we're thinking about living for a duration.
Now, that seems scary and exciting at the same time. I can only imagine. Charlie, you have anything to add to that?
The only thing I would add was when you say what's going to be different, if all goes well, maybe as early as 2021, you'll find that we'll have a launch of humans to space with no NASA crew member. We've got a couple of companies like Rex and Blue Origin, Axiom, a company for whom I consult, and they could be flying a crew as early as 2021.
Right.
That's right around the corner, and that's really, really, really different from anything we've ever done, where not only are we not on a NASA vehicle, but the crew is not a NASA crew.
Right.
Wow, so fascinating. Now, Josh, you're young, right? You still have time to retire from the NFL and then come back and work at NASA and become an astronaut and do some great things yourself. But Josh, can you tell us a little bit about your internship at the Kennedy Space Center? What was that like for you? What did you learn? What excites you? What motivates you to stay in touch with what's going on with space?
Right. So when I got down there, I originally started in the instrumentation department. I was on the mobile launcher, working with like the HAZCAS guys, the weather detection guys, just learning what they do, see what they do on a daily basis. And when there's kind of people realize, like a quarterback who's also engineers in town. So it kind of grew to every single day different, where I'll show up and see a different side, different part of the Space Center. And what was exciting for me was seeing how much innovation is going on at Kennedy Space Center, where a lot of people, a lot of great minds are collaborating, coming together to figure out ways to solve problems, as we said, for a new age in the space expedition world. So it was really fun to be around them, pick their brains, just like little things, like being around the group that's working on converting trash to gas, just finding different innovative ways to solve engineering problems that really apply to the space world. So it was really fun to be around that, learn, see what actually goes on at Kennedy Space Center. You hear so much about it, you only can read so much. When you actually get down there and you're able to get around the engineers and the various departments, it's really good to be around them and spend some time with them.
Oh, fantastic. Now, Josh, I'm going to test your knowledge a little bit, see how smart you really are. About how long would it take for you to throw a football from space back to Earth, and would Charlie be able to catch it?
Charlie definitely able to catch it. We talked about his hands earlier today. He's the most athletic of the group.
Did you say Charlie's the most athletic of the group?
No.
I heard his resume. Speaks very well for his athletic ability.
That is so fantastic. Okay, all right. So, Charlie, this question is directed at you. When you went up to space and looked back at the Mother Earth, what was the first thing that came to your mind as a former astronaut?
Well, I think everybody down there at the Cape knows that I'm a very emotional guy, and my very first flight, being an African American mainly, I'd spent a lot of time studying the geography of Africa because I wanted to be able to look at some of the countries on the west coast of Africa that were likely places from which my ancestors came. And Leland will tell you, about 15 minutes into flight, you see this big island coming up, and you finally realize that island, the continent of Africa. And I literally wept. I actually had tears coming to my eyes because I looked down and I realized that all this geography I had studied was for naught because there are no lines down there. There are no borders. I don't know why I thought I would see them. I couldn't tell Nigeria from Ghana from Algeria or whatever it was. And just the beauty of the continent, the beauty of our planet, I was overwhelmed. And I tell people all the time, I think technically you are more ready to go fly. The training team and everybody else really gets you ready. Emotionally, I was not ready at all. I wasn't prepared for the beauty of our planet. And, it was like that every time I flew. It wasn't the first time either.
Leland, what about your experience as an astronaut? How did you feel the first time, you just got into space and you're floating in that bird, and you can look back and you see Mother Earth. How did that feel?
I undid my 5-point seatbelt and pushed off with my back, and I float. My first job was to take a video camera and film the external tank. It's not on the vehicle there. External tank falling back down to the planet, and I was focused on looking through that camera, looking at the tank, watching it tumble, and then when the tank fell away, I saw the Caribbean Ocean. And I needed new definitions of blue to describe the colors that I saw. I mean, I had azure, indigo, navy blue, light blue, turquoise, whatever, but I needed like 30 more definitions because the colors were so vibrant and so beautiful. And like Charlie said, Africa, it was such an incredible thing to see, and it took us 5 minutes to get down the western African coast. And as I looked across Africa, I saw these thunderstorms, these sheet lightning was connecting all across the continent. And you saw lights where there were villages and tribes and different things. You could see the lights on the ground. And then when you got to the Cape of Good Hope, all the light went away, and it was over the ocean. And Charlie, I almost cried, but it was so emotional to see the planet in that way and just the colors. And so Charlie said, we weren't emotionally ready for what we would see. That was exactly what I felt too. The training was all there, but the emotions of seeing Mother Earth and getting this thing called the orbital perspective, this cognitive shift that you get when you see the planet going around it every 90 minutes. And the civilizations, the people that you're crossing, and you're thinking, you have those no borders, right, Charlie? You don't see those lines, but you know there are places where there's war, below you, and from space there's no war. It's just a beautiful planet, and emotional, right, Charlie? Just blew us away.
What an amazing description of such a feat. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm getting emotional just.
You gotta
just
go.
from
We
what
all
you
gotta
said.
go.
I'm ready to sign
The first ride.
Yes, I'll buy it. Charlie's gonna buy it.
Ready to sign up now.
So listen, you heard it live. Leland is going to buy me a ticket to space. Just make sure I come back. That's all I ask. And I can't wait for that trip. Now,
No, Josh will buy it. Josh.
Yeah, that's true. Josh, you can probably afford it. That's nothing for you. That's a drop in the bucket, man.
Let me keep working a couple more years, then maybe we'll talk about it.
We'll be waiting for it. Now, Leland, you're saying some very amazing things in terms of how you feel. Charlie, you are as well. And it's great to see that, there's young folks like Josh who are interested in the space program. Now, you're very, very keen on outreach and education, right, and inspiring the youth to do what you guys have already done and then do it even better. Now, so what would you say to our young people that are listening to you right now, who've seen like what you've done, people like you and Charlie, the things that you have accomplished in your life in regards to the space industry? What would you tell them right now?
Okay, I'm gonna look straight in the camera right here. No matter what zip code you're from, there's talent. And when people may tell you that you can't do this, you can't do that because of whatever, for whatever reason. But if you believe in yourself and you have a dream, you have a goal, turn that dream into a reality. My friend Peggy Whitson, who was the commander of the International Space Station, she was an Iowa pig farmer, and she thought about becoming an astronaut, but she didn't really know. She thought about it, but then when Sally Ride became the first female astronaut, her dream changed to her goal, and she was denied 13 times to become an astronaut. But she stayed persistent, she persevered, she kept going. She didn't give up. It's like the little engine that could. I think I can. And when you think you can, you will. And so she became she was my commander on STS-122 because she didn't give up. So work hard, believe in yourself, and just never give up.
Never, ever, ever give up. Now, Josh, once again, and I'm picking on you a little bit because you're a young man. If you were to envision the space industry, how it would be 5 to 10 years from now, how do you see it from your perspective?
From my perspective, I think it's exciting. It's exciting to see all the commercial companies that are getting into the space race. So in 5 to 10 years, I see several launches from the United States going, whether it's A, to the space station, B, to the moon, and then eventually to Mars. I think that's very attainable, and we are very close. Obviously, there's some huge steps and huge milestones to get to that point, but I think in 5 to 10 years, we will see people going, one, on the moon, and then going back to Mars or pushing towards that. So it's an exciting time to get into the aerospace world. For me, to be able to, one, be around NASA, especially just coming out of school, and then be around all the youth in the engineering world, it's really great to see the minds and to see the ideas and to see how bright the goals are that we are reaching for. So I'm excited to see where they take us in the next 5 to 10 years.
What's exciting is listening to someone with your youth, your intelligence, saying things like that, because then it means that there is hope for the future, especially in regards to the space industry. So very well answered. I appreciate what you're saying there, Josh. Now, with Charlie and Leland, have you ever considered writing a story based on your experiences, in space, working at NASA, doing what you do? Have you ever thought about it, and would you even play that role in the movie if you could?
Leland's already he's already an accomplished author. I'm the eternal procrastinator, so
but you're
I've been
close.
Thinking about a book
You're close.
For 50 years now. So
There's still time.
I'm slow, but I'll get there.
I want to play Charlie in his movie.
Ah, okay. Is he be the better looking version of him? Is that what it would be?
No. Just
right.
I want to be Charlie Bolden.
I understand. But
We
in
all
all
want to be
seriousness, have
Charlie
you
Bolden.
ever thought about maybe documenting your memoirs? Just telling your story. Everything that you've been through, the obstacles that you overcame, the challenges that you faced, the accomplishments that you were able to get to. Have you ever thought about just writing that, whether it be as inspirational or just for your own personal documentary?
Well, I wrote a book called Chasing Space, and it's called An Astronaut's Journey, Astronaut's Story of Grit, Grace, and Second Chances. And because I had a lot of obstacles along the way that I had to overcome just to get out of high school. And so I put all those stories in there as a way for kids to see that, no matter where you start, you can always get through that. And I wrote a children's version of that too. So and the children's version has a lot of NASA education activities in the back that they can do some activities with the kids.
Wow, so you heard it right here, folks. That's a plug. Chasing Space. Go out, get the book, okay? Read it, because you never know. You might be the next Leland Melvin. You might be the next astronaut. You might be the next, superstar doing some amazing things on our planet Earth here. So I think we have time for maybe just a couple more questions. Leland and Charlie, I'm going to direct this one towards you. Do you have any advice for fresh graduates or final year students?
Charlie, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd follow Josh's example. Josh Dobbs is a perfect example of someone who defied the stereotype. Most people, particularly coming from our community, and our zip codes, believe it's one or the other. Either you're an athlete or you're something else. And Josh and Leland are perfect examples that you can do anything you want to do if you're willing to work really hard and study. And I am incredibly impressed by both of them, particularly Josh today, because most people think that somebody who's going to be a football player, particularly a successful football player, doesn't have time for anything. And I was blown away to find out that he had actually, with the NFL's blessing, found a way to get down to KSC and spend some time. And just his being there, I think, is an example for a lot of us who see him, but particularly for kids who will say, okay, I can do both. I can be an athlete and an engineer.
Wow. Yeah, that is very, very, very touching. And Josh, you are very, very impressive. All right. So one more question, and Leland, this one's going to go back to you again. How can we encourage those that are not in the STEM field but interested in space to pursue a career in the space industry?
Okay, go check out nasa.gov/STEM. There are activities that are happening right now around the Constellation the commercial crew launch, and there are things that you can do there.
What about those not in STEM, but are interested in space?
So go to that website. Okay, that's the first part. Go to the website and see what's out there. Google, astronaut Charlie Bolden. Google astronaut Leland Melvin. Go find out what people are doing with STEM education and their path, the journey. How did I get there? How did Charlie get there? What were the things that we had to go through to get there? Because I think sometimes people don't see. They see the person up there, but they don't see the journey, the path to get there. And everyone's path is different. My path is different than Charlie's. He went to the military. I was a civilian. I didn't go through the military. So find out all the endpoints of the people that are up there. See what classes they took. See what major they majored in. And you don't have to do it exactly like we did it, but just know that that's the starting point. And Mr. Google is a great way to see the things. Mr. Google. I mean, it's a great way to see. It's a thing. The internet is a way. It kind of levels the playing field, because the information out there are universities like MIT giving free classes to people. So, it doesn't matter what zip code you're in, you got to get online to see what's out there. And then go to the library. Ron McNair went to the library. They booted him out of the library. But the police officer checked the physics book out. He had a book. He wanted to read a book. The police officer checked the book out for him, and that fueled his curiosity. So There's public libraries that are around that have information if you don't have a chance to get on the internet. And be curious. Always look up at the night sky and see the stars, and maybe watch the space station going overhead, and find out what people are doing and what you can do to help inspire yourself to be that next Charlie Bolden.
And I think you bring a very, very good point there, because astronauts need nurses. Astronauts need...
I was going to say, can I add one thing?
Sure, go ahead, Charlie.
You know, exactly, and I think you were going there. We tend to dwell on the astronaut. Astronauts are like a little prick.
Right.
We've got 18,000 employees in NASA and about 40,000 contractors, and maybe 40 or 50 people in the astronaut office. One of the good things about social, the NASA social, is they get an opportunity to see the photographers and the writers and the videographers and the engineers. And that, you asked the question of Leland, what about somebody who's not interested in STEM right now? They can still be part of the space program. But they need to, read some of the stuff that's on NASA.gov, and if they see a little name down there, like my secretary with the name of Stephanie Sherholtz, write a letter to Stephanie Sherholtz and say, hey, I love what you do. How can I be you? I want to be able to write like you do, and I want to be able to take pictures like you. One of the persons that tells NASA's story better than anybody else is Bill Ingalls. Is the world's greatest photographer, and most pictures you've seen that come from launches and everything else, that's Bill Ingalls, and he's the best storyteller I know in NASA. So there are a lot of ways you can be involved in the space program and not, be an astronaut.
Charlie just added the A to STEM to make it STEAM, because the arts are so important in what we do. The people that set up this exhibit here, this is art. There's graphic arts, there's language arts, there's the writing that Charlie mentioned. So it's so important that we look at the entire package of what we do at NASA, not just, like you said, the astronauts or the engineers, but there's so many other people that make this place work.
Right.
Like this team right here that's putting this social together.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. And so what we're going to do now is I'd like to get some closing statements from each one of you guys. I want to know, what do you want to tell the world? And I want to know the significance of what's happening, this historic moment that is amidst us right now. So Josh, I'm going to go ahead and start with you.
You on the spot first. First, Yves, thank you for hosting this. Thank you for having us. I think for me, one, just to be a part of this social and to get a chance to talk to Charlie and talk to Leland, guys that have accomplished a lot in the engineering world that I will to accomplish at some point. These are two things that I look up to, and I'll be excited to meet you guys face to face in a couple of days. But we're in exciting times in the space, as we've all said. This launch is pretty monumental for the next steps, for the springboard to what can occur in the next 5 to 10 years. As a young engineer who's looking to continue in the aerospace world, it's exciting times to be a part of what NASA's doing. It's exciting times to see the launch, and I'll be very thankful to be a part of this, because it's history. We're making history this week. So.
Thank you guys. Thank you so much, Josh.
Thanks, Josh.
And we so intend to follow your story, because it's already exciting. Lord knows where you're going to be 5 to 10 years from now. So thank you so much for that. Charlie?
Yeah, I'll kind of tag on to something Josh said at the beginning of the program, and that's, I hope everybody will remember that it's not just barbecue day, it's Memorial Day. And so as we get ready for the launch on Wednesday, please keep in mind the people who make the ultimate sacrifice, that we could do what we're going to do on Wednesday. And then it's a big day, like I said, it's a huge day, because it is actually opening the door to commercial space flight and the opportunity for more and more people to go do the kinds of things that Leland and I have been blessed to do. So thanks to everybody who made this social possible. Thanks to all of the people who tuned in, and get a good seat. Strap yourself in and get
And Charlie, I'm going to turn that thanks right back to you. I want to thank you again for your service primarily, and also for your leadership as our administrator, because it takes leadership to do great things. And you sat at the head of the table, and your passion for what we were doing and your care for all the people that you led was very, very apparent. So thank you for everything that you did while you were our administrator. And last but not least, Leland.
Thanks, Yves. Thanks, Josh and Charlie, for those great words. I also want to thank Hortense Diggs she used to work with me in education, and now she's one of the big dogs at NASA Kennedy Space Center. But thank her for pulling this all together, because she talked to me, she sent me a text and said, hey, I want to get you, Charlie, and Josh together. And it's sometimes rare that you see 3 African-American men and 2 NFL players and 2 astronauts, and you never really see that. And then what I said earlier was that, it doesn't matter what zip code you're from. We all have the same thing on this planet. We all have the same amount of time. How do you use your time? And so use that time wisely, believe in yourself, and for the kids out there, you can be whatever you want to be. And I'm just so honored to be part of this program coming up on Wednesday. We're sending human beings to space on a SpaceX rocket, Crew Dragon, and it's monumental because this is the 5th time in the history of our space program that we've had another vehicle. This is the 5th vehicle, so it's monumental. It's going to blow my mind, Yves. I mean, just to see this rocket taking off. But I'm really honored and blessed to be here. And Godspeed on your journey and whatever you decide to do with your lives. And you can do anything you want to. You can do anything you want to do. So thanks.
I absolutely thank you. The thanks really goes to all of you, and I feel like I'm about 20 times smarter right now just having this conversation. So I appreciate that already. With that, folks, we do want to take a quick moment and just commemorate, have just a moment of silence for Memorial Day, because as we mentioned in our previous shows, it's those who are out there fighting for us, fighting for our freedom, that make it possible for us to do what we're doing right here today. So we're just going to take a quick moment of silence and say and give thanks to everything that our troops are out there doing for us. All right, and so with that, folks, that's going to be the closing of this program here. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for your questions. Thank you again, Leland, Charlie, and Josh, for everything that you do, for all the words that you've shared, the words and the experiences that you've shared with us. We hope you stay tuned. This is only L-2. We still have another day. We have another day for you tomorrow with some exciting shows. The schedule should be popped up on your screen right now. So please check on in. Be ready with your questions. We have Jim Bridenstine, our current NASA administrator, and Bob Cabana, the KSC Center Director, along with Jim Morhard, who's going to be here at 2 o'clock as well. So please tune in, have your questions ready. You can talk to our leaders and find out what's really going on in our community, and more importantly, how this all happens. It's not magic. It's not rocket science. It's a lot more than that. It's the people behind all of it. Definitely. All right? So once again, guys, in closing, thank you so much, and we'll see you next time. Have a great day.